Young Junk. Two men, one podcast, every black film ever made. My name is Len, aka the Bat Tribble. And as always, I'm joined by my partner.
Hey, this is Vincent Williams.
Tonight, folks, we are closing out Action August, but we're still in the year of 1972 with Vincent's selection. It's Jim Brown, better known as Slaughter.
Slaughter. That's his name and his job.
Yes, it is.
And sometimes it's his pleasure.
Slaughter!
I love that was Billy Preston's strategy towards the song. Just kind of groove a little bit on the organ, then just yell out, Slaughter! So...
It don't even sound like Billy Preston.
No.
It don't even sound like Billy Preston.
I was wondering, is that someone else yelling?
Nope.
Oh, boy.
We're going to have fun tonight.
yes, we
Here
are.
on The Mission,
yes,
as we are streaming live from Young Junk, Philadelphia's premier video podcast palace, to Instagram, to Facebook, and of course to our home on YouTube, where we see each and every one of you out there in the chat. Hello, missionaries.
Good evening, one and all.
All right, let's get the show grooving. Vincent.
Yes, sir.
You know, as I was watching Peacock this weekend, watching Homicide, Life on the Street.
Life on the Street?
It dawned on me as like in the middle of one of the episodes.
Did you get to Three Men and Adina?
Yes.
I haven't gotten to it yet.
Oh, yes. Yes. It dawned on me as I was watching it that, you know, I don't watch anything current on television that much anymore. So I said, let's look at something circa 2024.
Okay.
And I turned on, because I was on Peacock. And on Peacock, they actually have a new movie out. I don't know if you're aware of this film. The Killer.
Oh, is that on Peacock?
That is on Peacock.
Okay. What'd you think about that?
Now, for those who do not know, The Killer is a new film, 2024, on Peacock by John Woo.
Yes.
That stars Natalie Emmanuel and Omar Sy. Okay, and Sam Worthington. This is a remake.
Yes, sir.
Of John Woo's 1989 classic, The Killer, that starred one Chow Yun-fat.
Yun-fat. Oh my God.
As a professional assassin who wants to retire, but who accidentally damages the eye of a singer during a shootout, and then sets out to perform one last hit for her in order to pay for her treatment. That was the 1989 version.
Yes.
The
one of my favorite movies of all time.
Oh, it is. The Killer from 1989 by Chow Yun-fat is non-stop berserk.
Just cool. Just cool.
Action.
Stylized.
So funky. It is John Woo is where he like really set his template for a lot of his shots and how he does action. It is the movie that made Chow Yun-fat an international superstar. And it and the action is so good because it's gun fu.
Yeah, basically.
That's what it is. Yeah. But there are some fisticuffs. There are some jumping around. There's some stunt driving.
Like gun dancing. Almost. Yeah. Like it's just the choreography.
It is so good. And Chow Yun-fat is young, and so is John Woo in this in 1989. The Killer, which reimagines this with Natalie Emmanuel as the assassin. and Omar Sy as the police
Right, chasing after.
Yeah. And this is also directed by John Woo.
Mm-hmm.
John Woo, he's aged a bit since 1989.
Well, haven't we all?
Haven't we all? And with that, I think he's slowed things down. This movie is set in France, as opposed to China in the original. And things, it was a movie that I wanted to enjoy. I wanted to be liking, and it just doesn't work for me.
If you did not know it was John Woo, if you did not know it was a remake of The Killer, do you think you would have enjoyed it more?
No, because it's still just a little bit too. You know how you just said The Killer was cool.
Yes,
and it was about that image, but as cool as The Killer was, there still was a little bit of grit.
Yes.
There.
Yes.
This is too slick.
It's too slick, too clean.
It's too pretty.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay.
And it's just a little bit too slowed down. And Chow Yun-fat definitely proved that he had the chops for the action. Nothing against Natalie Emmanuel, who I like as an actress and in the bit roles that I've seen her in over the years. Mm-hmm. But as far as action, it just doesn't play. You know what this played? It reminded me of
the Flintstones movie.
Not that action classic. What is the action classic that Angelina Jolie played in, where she is kind of like kicking butt, but nobody? What is it? What's that movie?
Is that like Salt?
Salt.
Is it Salt?
Salt. Lucy was Scarlett Johansson, I think. I said Angelina Jolie.
What is happening right now?
I'm talking to no one because they can't hear him.
Yeah.
But Salt. It was Salt. In Salt, I didn't believe that Angelina Jolie could do what she was doing, and that was the same way here. I just didn't believe her. It just didn't come off believable, and I found myself like, wow, just checking out on the movie, and I really wanted to enjoy it.
Okay.
I really wanted to enjoy it, but I didn't enjoy it. So I went back to Homicide: Life on the Streets. Went back to the 90s.
So you just spent like 6 minutes to tell us about something that you don't want us to watch, which if you hadn't mentioned it, we probably would have. Like, we actually, this is a spiritual reenactment of Raiders of the Lost Ark, where you realize that Indiana Jones does all that stuff, but if he'd have just stayed in the history department, the Nazis still would have gotten their faces melted off. Well, thank you, Lynn.
This has been Len Watches Current TV. And now it's time to hear from you, our listeners, and your emails, or as we like to call them,
missives from the missionaries.
So what else is going on, Lynn?
We have emails, Vincent.
Ooh, missives from the missionaries. Ooh. Ooh. Ooh, missives from the missionaries.
Missives from the missionaries, where we read your emails to you. Vincent, we have an email from Michael Sykes.
Hey, what's up, Michael?
Don't nobody want a piece of this ish?
Oh, no.
Hello, Len and Vincent. This is your fan, Michael. After watching the 1977 drama picture, Don't Nobody Want a Piece of This Ish, I'm sorry, a piece of the action.
Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah. I listened to your podcast episode on it more than 3 times and still counting. This movie distanced itself from a lot. It distanced itself from the black community, the black youths, and Vincent said it best, and I quote, "The first 2 films, Uptown Saturday Night, Let's Do It Again, lovingly create the black community. The film takes place in the black community. There are different aspects of the black community." End quote. This movie looks down on the people of the black community and the people itself, calling them gorillas.
Yes.
This movie is like that bougie relative that came over to the cookout. And Len, you have no care to the little Timmy scene. Okay. A scene that's supposed to be emotional, caring, and sad, yet you gave it zero cares about that scene, saying, how is that going to get you a job? Which had me crying, laughing. I don't even remember the scene he's talking about.
You remember when they have the they have the fake interview, and Roger Thomas is the boss,
yes.
and the dude comes to interview, and he says that his little brother Timmy is I don't know if Timmy was blonde or he couldn't walk or
something he was infirmed in
some cereal or something, but he said he needs this job so that we can give little Timmy an operation so he can see or well, I guess he should have done one more job so that he could afford the money to get his eyesight back.
Yeah, you should have.
Yeah,
slacker. This movie was so bad, y'all didn't even mention how good the score was, thanks to Curtis Mayfield, which was the only thing about this movie. The trilogy reminds me of the 3 chicken chain restaurants: Popeyes, KFC, and Church's. One of them you love, one of them you like, and one of them you hate. Guess where piece of the action fell? Take your pick. Love your fan, Michael Lockett.
Plus, according to my boys outside as we were drinking 40s, Church's Chicken was owned by the Ku Klux Klan.
Was it Church's or was it?
Oh, no, it was Church's. It was absolute Church's. If you can't believe your boy as he's halfway down his 40, who can you believe?
Okay. All right. I never heard that about Church's.
It's like works cited Craig with his 40.
I didn't hear that about Church's. I heard that about Chicken George. Remember where Chicken George?
No, I didn't hear that about Chicken George.
That's what I remember hearing it about. Maybe I'm misremembering.
Chicken George was delicious, too.
That's why people were.
Yeah, there was one Chicken George in Baltimore. It was delicious.
There was pretty much one Chicken George in Philly. And it was okay.
And you think maybe it was owned by the Ku Klux Klan?
That's what I heard. Because then it closed down.
It closed down.
Because Church's stayed around for a little bit.
Well, the Ku Klux Klan is powerful. So that makes sense.
Yeah, but it makes sense. It makes sense that they would try to co-opt Chicken George, which was a famous name coming out of the TV series Roots,
right?
You know, and do something with that, as opposed to Church's, which I can't. No, Chicken George came before Church's came here.
I don't. Okay. Oh, you said here. Yeah, I don't know about Philly. Yeah.
Yeah, and Church's was here for a little bit.
Allegedly. We don't know if the Ku Klux Klan did or did not own these chicken chains.
But Church's was giving away free troop jackets, if that means anything to anyone.
Because they said Troop was sponsored by the
KKK.
Ku Klux Klan, too. But don't think I forgot how y'all was acting about them Popeyes chicken sandwiches.
People were going bananas over these dumb, dry-ass Popeye chicken sandwiches.
I don't think they're bad. I just don't think it warranted the mania that
it created.
Yeah.
Me neither. I wasn't not with them.
All right, that's enough talking about fried chicken. I feel like Malcolm X is looking down at us from heaven, shaking his head.
We have an email from Ellis Heron, our boy in Fort Worth.
Hey, what's up, Ellis?
I've been looking.
Sorry. I'm breaking all kinds of rules. I'm disrupting you, and I'm looking at the screen. My brother reminded us that Troop was supposed to stand for total rule over oppressed people. That's right.
That's true. That is very true.
I feel like Craig with the 40 shared that information as well. Yo, son, you know that's an acronym. It really stands for total rule over oppressed people. Man, the 90s were the best.
Ellis Heron sent us an email. I've been looking forward to your review of Trouble Man and was pleased to see that you had tackled it. When I first saw the film, I thought T was the man and just emanated cool. Mm-hmm. So I was surprised to hear you both not recommend the film. From what I heard, one of the reasons why was because Robert Hooks was a thespian actor that looked like he was starring in a different movie, like he just didn't belong in it. After hearing this, I need to be educated. If William Marshall is a thespian, why does Blackula work? To me, it appears he's above that kind of movie, but he's still beloved, didn't it? I've also heard another critic say that Trouble Man is flawed because Mr. T is too good to the point where he was always 5 steps ahead of everybody. You never feared for his life, and he always came out on top. Correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't that the way Fred Williamson was in most of his movies? He always stated that when he did a movie, he couldn't die, had to win all his fights, and got the girl in the end. What's the difference? Also, speaking of Fred Williamson, I loved your Hammer top 5 list. MC Hammer and Hank Aaron were actually where they needed to be. That was a fact that MC Hammer briefly was competing with Michael Jackson as the best entertainer. You might as well call Hammer the Sega Genesis that was trying to take on Michael Jackson's Nintendo in the early 90s. Looking forward to a good educational lesson on Trouble Man. Gentlemen, your boy Ellis Heron from Fort Worth. What do you got to say to him about why does William Marshall work in Blackula?
Well, William Marshall is playing an immortal nobleman. So by definition, this is someone who's going to have some heft in weight. And in Abby, he plays an archaeologist.
Yes.
Again, someone with heft in weight.
Some gravitas.
You're right, You know, again, Robert Hooks is playing a street smart, savvy kind of operator with no kind of inclination of why someone who presents himself like this is in this world. Not to bleed into the interview, but one of the things that I enjoyed about Slaughter is in 10 minutes, Marlene Clark says, you're a captain in a green beret, which is like, oh, okay. All the wild stuff that's about to happen, they've established he's a green beret.
Right.
And, you know, certainly in the 70s, you just, like you hear Green Beret and you just think that they're going to be supermen. Which, you know, funnily enough, I think Black Dynamite spoofs that. Where you know, where they talk about being in the CIA.
Right.
Which, oh, well, okay, well, clearly you're a government agent, so you can do anything you want. But, yeah, and then, you know, the Fred Williamson thing. Look, y'all, look, your mileage may vary. We are 2 guys watching movies, talking about them. Like, we talk about them, we think about them. But at the end of the day, although I do think we have an informed opinion.
Yes, it is just an opinion.
It is an opinion. I think Fred Williamson is just cooler than Robert Hooks.
I was going to say that's really what it boils down to.
Right, that's what it really kind of boils down to. He's cooler than Robert Hooks. Robert Hooks looks like someone they bring in to talk to the kids. And you know, again, sort of a real positive black male image.
Right.
Like, quite honestly, Robert Hooks looks like the kind of actor who would have spoken out against blaxploitation. In the image,
he looks like the type of.
I mean, obviously he's not because he was in Trouble Man.
Yeah.
But you know.
Yeah, I think that you nailed it on the head.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Ellis, for that email. Appreciate you. And we have one more email for you, Vincent.
Okay. And
this is from Michael Lockett.
Hey, what's up, Michael?
August has been action-packed. Kudos. Adding to the extra wrinkle of staying in the 70s with your choices has been both joy and pain. Watching Trouble Man, I was initially about to go off on its shortcomings, but then I reined myself in and put it into the context of what was happening and what was allowed to happen from a black perspective. It's hard enough even now to get an idea brought to life on screen as a black filmmaker. In the 70s, I can only imagine. Does Trouble Man have problems? Of course. Len, you hit it spot on. With someone other than Robert Brooks, there would have been more life to the character, and it made us not think about the inconsistencies. I only came up with maybe James Earl Jones for for this time period, and I think that he was working on End of the Road or The Great White Hope when this was in production. During my time travels, I landed on Superfly. I had forgotten this film. Just like Trouble Man, I tried not to go all in regarding its many problems. I could not hold back. This movie is horrible. The money spent on this could have been turned into so many better things. Hearing Adolph Caesar again do the voiceover for the trailer made me look the brother up. He was steadily cashing checks on voiceover work. Yes, he was.
Yeah, I think that's how he made his living in the 70s.
He was the voice of blaxploitation. I found damn near 100 spots of voiceover that he did. Quick question: is there a better black man or woman for voiceover work than Adolph Caesar? You named one, James Earl Jones.
Yeah.
I know his voice may be lost to time for some missionaries, but he was everywhere from the mid to late 60s to his passing in 86. One last tidbit that made me chuckle was the United Negro College Fund ads. I felt the same way. Be better, do better. Not only just to not get my shit kicked by my parents, but because a mind is a terrible thing to waste.
Terrible thing to waste.
My personal favorite UNCF ad was, once you step foot on the Bodie plantation, you best set your mind to work. All the best, Michael.
Well, thank you, Michael.
Appreciate you, Michael. All right. All right, so that is our emails. Folks, if you want to have your voice heard here on the Micheaux Mission, please send us your emails to micheauxmission@gmail.com. That's MICHEAUX MISSION@gmail.com. All right. Ron Covington is in the chat and saying that Paul Winfield is a stage-trained actor, but he's a different type than Hooks. Winfield was a different kind of hero in Gordon's War. Also, I think...
Which we're overdue to watch.
We'll
It's
get
been
there.
on my short list for a while now.
You've got a long short list.
I know.
What I will also say, and maybe not so much Fred Williamson, who I think maybe takes himself a little bit too serious,
Absolutely.
but Paul Winfield is an actor who, for my money, is someone who will just have fun. You know what I mean? So he's in Trouble Man. He's probably one of the better people in Trouble Man because he's just having fun doing this character. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think of him in Sounder. He's good in Sounder.
Yeah.
He's playing his position in Sounder. And then I go to seeing him in Star Trek. And he's playing his position in Star Trek.
Look, man, of course, Paul Winfield was a treasure.
Yeah.
Was an absolute treasure.
Love that guy.
Yeah, no real controversy there. Yeah.
All right. It is now time as we keep it moving.
Yeah, keep it moving.
Chugging along.
That's right, because this is an action-packed episode.
That's right. And it's action-packed because we're in the year of 1972. And that's where we're going to be for the top 5.
All
Top
right.
five. Who's your top 5? My top 5 is. My top 5 is. My top 5 is.
Top 5, where I present a list and Vince shares with us his scintillating commentary on it. We are in the year of 1972. We've been breaking down 1972 for the last couple of weeks. You go back on our review of Trouble Man, go back on our review of Hammer, and you will hear us talk about the top music from 1972 as well as some of the top films from 1972. Tonight, we are presenting the top 5 black television shows
Wow.
for the year of 1972.
So that means there were 5 black television shows on in 72. Interesting.
Yes.
I can't wait to hear this because I can think of maybe 2.
You can probably think of 2, and if you stretch for a second, you'll come up with the third.
'Cause I think Good Times and the Jeffersons don't come until
They're
after
not- they're not.
72.
No.
Okay, well, go ahead. Go ahead.
Starting at number 5,
Okay.
and if I remember correctly, I put it on the graphic, so Dylan, correct me if I'm wrong. The number 58th popular show on television for
Okay.
1972, which means that it was not popular.
Right.
The new Bill Cosby show.
Yeah.
The new Bill Cosby
Okay,
show was
yeah.
an attempt to exploit the widespread popularity of Bill Cosby, coming out of his show Cos, as well as I Spy. Cosby's supporting cast was actually biracial on this sketch variety show. He featured Foster Brooks, also Lola Falana,
Yes.
who also served as the announcer.
About to say
on the show.
she would introduce it every week.
Ongoing sketches included The Wife of the Week and The Adventures of the Dude, a man who was so impossibly cool that nothing whatever could faze him or cause him in any way to lose his composure or coolness. The show was met with low ratings due to its competition from Monday Night Football and the NBC Monday Night at the Movies, and thus was canceled after one season.
How many episodes was there of the new Cosby Show?
I did not look up the
Sure.
number of episodes.
It was a weird show.
Well,
It was a weird show.
I don't remember it at all.
I mean, obviously, I don't remember. I've watched clips of it, and you know, quite honestly, the best part of the episode would be Lola Falana at the beginning introducing it.
Yeah.
But I just feel like I remember there were people on there who were funny, but what they were doing
Was not.
was not. Like, if I were so inclined, I'd like to see who was in the writer's room. And I forgot all about Cos. What year is Cos?
Kai's is like late 60s, because that's after I Spy.
It's after I Spy, but it's before the Bill Cosby Show?
Before this show?
No, you said Cos. Remember the show Cos, C-O-S?
Oh, well, maybe I'm thinking about the Cosby Show. I said
Right,
Cos.
because the Bill Cosby Show ran for like 3 years.
Right.
Maybe 2 years, 2 or 3 years. Yeah, Chet Kincaid, which I quietly quite enjoyed.
The new Cosby Show, it did not have a lot. It couldn't have had but so many episodes, because it doesn't even list the number. But it ran from September of 72 to May of 73.
Oh, yeah, so it wasn't even on that long.
And now in the cast, and I think also some of these people doubling as writers, Lola Falana, Foster Brooks, as I mentioned, Pat McCormick, who was a very popular comedy writer at the time, Ronnie Graham, and Ray Jessel. The other two names.
Rita Moreno wasn't on that.
George Schlater was the producer. Rita Moreno was not on that show.
I'm thinking about the electric company.
You're thinking about something totally complete.
Thinking about Rita Moreno and young Bill Cosby together.
Yes,
Like I
that's the
remember,
Electric Company.
I remember them together. So that must have been the electric company.
I mean,
Okay.
he had Quincy Jones did the music.
Dude, again,
Just didn't make it.
we've talked about this before. That dead zone between I Spy, and I'm including the Bill Cosby Show because it was only on for like 2 years. But between I Spy and the Cosby Show, Bill Cosby just kept getting bites of the apple. Like, he just kept getting projects.
Yeah, the Bill Cosby Show that you're talking about was before this, because that ran from 69 to 71. So this was coming out of this. This started the same year as Fat Albert. Fat Albert started in
Okay,
72.
okay.
So Fat Albert would kind of like keep him.
I was about to say Fat Albert and stand up.
Yeah, that
I
kept
guess we're paying the bills, but
paying the bills.
all right. Okay, all right, cool.
So that was the number 5 series.
All right. I may have guessed that. All right, let's see what else.
Number 4, which I believe ranked at number 48th for the year, but was renewed.
Okay.
From 1972, a sitcom called Temperatures Rising.
I have never heard of this.
I had never heard of it, even though in reading about it, I have a vague recollection of seeing it. It was developed by William Asher, who is more famously known for developing
I'm blanking out.
Batman from 1966.
Okay.
The series featured James Whitmore as the no-nonsense chief of staff of a fictional Washington, D.C. hospital, forced to deal with the outlandish antics of a young intern played by one Cleavon Little.
Okay. I do remember that.
I loosely remember this series.
I see Cleavon Little in Scrubs.
Right.
I do remember this.
And having to deal with like 3 nutty nurses as well. They were all white nurses, though.
I was about to say, how many black people were in this cast?
The Cleavon Little was the one black person, but he was kind of like the co-lead.
Yeah, okay.
After the first season of this series, James Whitmore was replaced by the comedian Paul Lynn.
Oh.
In the lead.
Oh, that's interesting.
I know, right? But Cleavon Little stayed on with the show. However, Cleavon Little played more of a wisecracking guy the first season. The second season, they kind of serioused him up a little bit.
Interesting.
Because he was, and what I've read was that there was a little bit of feedback because there was so little representation.
And Cleavon Little may have said something.
Of black people on television at that time. Like, let's like tighten him up a little bit. And then for the third season, he kind of like plays it in the middle a little bit.
Are you telling me there were 3 seasons?
Of this show, but the new Bill Cosby show only lasted.
How many episodes?
Well, it was 26 episodes in the first season. I think the third season maybe didn't go the full ride. Hold on one second. Let me see if I can pull it up.
Because it sounds to me like you're saying there were like 50 episodes of the show.
I think in total there may have been like about maybe 46 episodes.
There are 40.
And technically it was 2 seasons.
Okay.
It was 2 seasons.
Wow.
Yeah.
I have to poke around on YouTube for this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh no, what I was thinking of, it was 2 seasons of this. Then there was a third, technically more or less a third season, but it was rebranded.
Did they change the name?
They did. Guess what the new name was?
I don't remember, but I do remember they changed the name of this. What was it?
The New Temperatures Rising Show.
Was it still said a hospital? Or did they change to a diner?
Basically. No, it was still a hospital.
Okay.
Still a hospital. The New Temperatures Rising Show, however, only lasted 13 episodes.
Okay. Oh, only 13 episodes.
Right. So that was technically like the quote unquote third season.
Right. Have there been 13 episodes of House of the Dragon, which has been on for 2 years?
Yes.
We were so spoiled. We were so spoiled.
I know, right?
Have I mentioned the fact that there are 66 episodes of What's Happening Now?
Yes, you have talked about that.
There are only like 72 episodes of Game of Thrones. All 8 seasons, 72 episodes. Is 66 episodes of What's Happening Now.
Number 3.
Number 3.
Okay.
All right.
And this one, I think, ranks in the 20s.
Okay. All right.
As far as, so it's a fairly popular show.
All right.
In 1972. And this is the one that I think if you stretched, you would have guessed.
Okay. And what is that?
Room 222.
I did not know it went that long.
I think it's kind of like, this is maybe its second season.
Until this exact second, I thought this was a 60s show.
No. Room 222 is a series that I'm about to give you more information on, folks. Is a comedy series that aired from 1969 to 1974.
Oh, yeah. You've taught me something.
And since you're big on numbers, for a total of 112 episodes.
I know it was a gang. Well, I told you I have the box set. I have the box set.
The series or just the first season?
No, the series.
Okay.
But I could have sworn this was a post to Sir with Love television show. Like if you
like immediately after
I thought it ran from like 66 to 68.
No, 69. Yeah, I remember. Because I remember watching its first run.
Wow.
Room 222, which was a very popular, very lauded show.
Yeah,
that took place. It depicts, excuse me, it focused on the American history class in room 222 at the fictional Walt Whitman High School in Los Angeles. It also depicted other events in and outside the school as the home lives of the racially diverse student body and faculty, which included outstanding. It won the Outstanding Emmy Award for Outstanding New Series in 1970, and co-stars Michael Constantine and Karen Valentine won for Outstanding Supporting Actor and Outstanding Supporting Actress in a Comedy Series, respectively, in 1970. However, the stars of Room
Just
222
name some people.
are Lloyd Haynes
That's right.
and Denise Nicholas
Denise Nicholas.
as the teachers and administrators here at this school. They were never lauded for their performances, never nominated for their performances, but they were definitively the stars of this show.
Right.
And I remember, now I watched this as a kid. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like 74. I'm 7 years old. Remember watching this show, knowing that it was funny, but thinking, oh, this is a little serious. This is real. This is some real stuff that I'm watching, man. This was ahead of its time.
Fooling around, one of the kids is doing the smack.
Yeah, man. But it was a good show. It was a excellent television. And one of those shows that I think has gotten lost to time unfairly.
I run a little cool on Room 222.
Really?
I respect it. Didn't hold. It's a little boring.
Okay. I mean, well, you know why?
And Denise Nicholas as a modern teacher in mini skirts was fantastic.
That was enough.
But
Well, I think it's because at that time, 1970, the formula for the quote unquote dramedy was still really being created.
right, and it was so earnest.
It was.
I think that's part of the reason I thought it was a mid '60s. Like I thought it would have run like right after To Sir with Love and I Have a Dream speech, and then like when Dr. King was assassinated, they just took it off.
Oh,
Like it was just so earnest.
it was very earnest.
And but okay.
It's been a minute
God
since I
bless it.
watched it.
Yeah,
So
God bless it.
so if you're saying
Yeah.
it doesn't hold up,
Right.
I'll lean on you for
Right,
that.
right.
But like I said, I just James Brooks, who's a lauded name in television, he's
Absolutely.
one of the creators of that show.
Yeah.
So he's really getting his feet wet. He would go on. James Brooks, if you don't know, is the creator of Cheers, and also the co-creator, thus, of Frasier, two of the greatest sitcoms of all time, with deep benches. Let's go on to number 2.
Number 2.
Now, this is one you're going to guess.
Okay.
And this show was, if I believe, number 15, the 15th most popular show of 1972. It ran from 1970 to 1974. The Flip Wilson Show.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Show starred Flip Wilson. It was a program that was one of the first American television programs starring a black person in the title role to become highly successful with a white audience. Specifically, it was the first successful network variety series starring an African American. During its first 2 seasons, it was in fact the nation's second most watched show according to Nielsen ratings. The Flip Wilson Show won 2 Emmy Awards out of 18 nominations, both coming in 1971 for Outstanding Variety Series as well as for writing. And not only made Flip Wilson himself already a noted comedian on the Laughing and on stages across America, but it would make a cultural icon out of his character Geraldine that he would dress up as on the show. And I remember watching Flip Wilson religiously at my house. I have found Flip Wilson again on like TV Land and on YouTube, and a lot of his stuff still kind of holds up.
Look, man, this is sort of speaking of shows of their time. Flip Wilson was absolutely a 1972 show.
Mm-hmm.
Like my favorite aspect of Flip Wilson continues to be the cross section of guests
Yeah.
that you would see. Like you would look and it would be like I don't know, like Danny
Danny Kaye.
like Danny Kaye would be on the same episode with like Sly and the Family Stone. Like it was just like I remember there was an episode with Joe Namath
Yes.
and not Shirley Caesar, but like an old gospel singer. Like he just had this wonderful. It was Mahalia Jackson. It was like Joe Namath and Mahalia Jackson were on the same episode. And I love these old 70s shows or these old 70s production. We'll talk about this tonight. Where like the men would have on tuxedos and the women would have on evening dresses, evening gowns. But again, it was like just a random assortment of people because the 70s was this wonderful moment of transition.
Well, that's because that's something that I think people miss about this time is that the variety show was basically you going out to see a show.
Right.
So you were seeing a comedian, you were seeing a singer perform, you were seeing people do like short plays on set. Sometimes if they didn't have like a singer or a singer or another comedian, you might get a performer. You might get a Las Vegas show. Somebody, just spinning plates,
right?
On there or doing like magic,
right?
So it was, and because of that, they dressed up. They made you feel like this was a formal occasion.
Yeah.
And that's why the host would be dressed up, if not always in a tuxedo, but definitely in a suit.
Definitely
People
in a suit.
would be in a gown.
Yeah.
You dress for the occasion. That's why the variety shows would be the last thing to come on in prime time, because everything else was just like the appetizer to the show.
Yeah.
The big show, whether it be Flip Wilson, whether it be the Carol Burnett show,
Sonny and Cher.
Sonny and Cher or Dean Martin.
Yeah.
That's what they were. At a time, Donnie and Marie. I think Donnie and Marie, if I remember correctly, just thinking about all of these 70s variety shows, it's around the time that Donnie and Marie and the Jackson 5 get their variety show. Even the Jacksons, I think, was just a summer thing.
And it was a Jackson's family. Yeah, but right,
and it was a whole family. But I think it was around that time that the variety shows started to maybe, quote unquote, dress down a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it became more the quote unquote kids.
They were trying to make it hip.
Right. Yeah. Because Sonny and Cher was a very successful variety show. And they kind of like made it.
Yeah, but even Sonny and Cher, Sonny would have on.
He'd have on the weird.
He would have on but it'd be a tuxedo. It'd be a weird, and then Cher was always wearing Bob Fosse.
Yeah, but
not Bob Fosse. Is that the designer?
It was Bob Fosse.
Yeah, the Bob Fosse.
But there was a point there, maybe around, because Johnny and Cher ran for a little bit.
Oh yeah,
somewhere around the second or third.
After Sonny left, it was the Cher show.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot he did leave while the
Sonny,
show was.
That's right. Sonny
the show
left,
was still
and
on.
then it was the Cher show.
That's right. But there was some time where, at some point, or maybe it was intermittently while he was doing it, sometimes he'd have on a suit, but every once in a while he'd have maybe like a Nehru jacket.
Right.
True. Or like kind of like hippie it out a little bit, dress it down.
Right. Bob Mackey is
Bob Mackey.
Not Bob Fosse.
Not Bob Fosse. Bob Mackey.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ron Covington, in the chat.
And Aaron. Don't leave Aaron out.
I did, and Aaron Fry. Yeah. My bad. Look at you. You're chat happy now.
I'm just saying. All right. And who's number one? Well, I know who's number one.
We all know who's number one.
Of course I know what number one is. What season is this?
This is, in fact, it's, I guess it's second, it's its first season.
And that would, of course, be?
The number 2 rated series for 1972.
Right, because All in the Family was number 1.
That's right.
And the second year Sanford and Son was number 1.
Right. So Sanford and Son is the number 1 black TV show.
Oh yeah, and the number 2 overall show.
Number 2 overall. And now it's a little misnumbering here because Sanford and Son actually started in January of 72.
Okay.
So it's number 2 for the year, but it really gets its full season starting at the end of 72 to 73.
Right.
That's when it really gets its first full season. But yeah, Sanford and Son, for those who do not know, it's about Fred Sanford, a junkyard owner, and his son, Lamont. Lamont. And their misadventures in Norman Lear's show that was based on the British sitcom Steptoe and Son.
Yeah, that's right. You ever seen the episodes Steptoe and Son?
I think I've maybe seen 1 or 2.
It's kind of weird.
It's weird.
Like the ones that because like the first season, a couple of the episodes of Sanford and Son
Are
just remakes.
Yeah.
Oh, and it's weird.
It's not, and I'm a fan of British comedy.
Yeah.
But that one just didn't.
Yeah.
It didn't really hit with me.
Yeah.
But yeah, Sanford and Son, which was a blockbuster of a show. Like Vincent said, it would go on to soon become the number 1 show in the country, and it would always kind of like be bouncing back and forth with All in the Family.
Oh yeah.
And rightfully so. No disrespect to All in the Family. Sanford and Son put Aunt Esther, Grady, Bubba,
Leroy and Skillet.
Everybody. It was just a phenomenal show, a show that definitely still holds up, as insane as it was. It was not trying to remake comedy by any stretch of the imagination, but Red Fox was and still remains, even in passing, a treasure.
Maybe my favorite show of all time.
Wow.
I think Sanford and Son. I was sitting here thinking. I think Sanford and Son might be my favorite show of all time. I love Sanford and Son so much.
Oh, I know you do.
Yes, you do.
I know you do.
And the first season was solid, but I always my favorite Sanford and Son factoid. Aunt Esther is not on the first season. So like they have to find their footing, even though it's really solid. But yeah, once you hit that second season,
off and running.
Oh my goodness.
Off and running. Yeah, a great show.
Yeah.
Great show. And those are the top 5 black TV shows of 1972.
All right. It's a good list.
Good list.
Good list.
If you would have told me that a series starring Cleavon Little in a hospital got 2 seasons and the new Bill Cosby show got canceled after 1 season, I would have said you're making it up.
Again, because it seems like, I want to just sit here too long with this. Like, what year does Laughing go off?
That goes off in the 60s.
It seemed like they were going for that laugh-in energy.
What were they really being that absurd?
Yeah, no, they were.
Okay.
Like I hear you talking about that there were
if they
recurring
were characters and bits,
but it wasn't like Carol Burnett or even the recurring bits like you just talked about Geraldine on Flip Wilson. Like it wasn't like that. Like it really was just this sort of bang bang from bit to bit. It just
if that is
just
the case,
didn't like. I absolutely understand that it didn't get a second season, just because I've seen it.
Yeah,
and I'm just like,
because that doesn't sound like the right speed for Bill Cosby.
Exactly,
it's not his.
That
speed.
is 100. That is 100% it. And by his speed. You don't do fast with Bill Cosby. You give him room to breathe.
You don't do fast, but nor do you do really absurd or
Right.
crazy, like a little off kilter.
Exactly.
Like Bill Cosby does not work in Monty Python.
No. Dude, the crazy thing about the Bill Cosby show, it's kind of like Room 222 where
We're
it
talking
is.
about Chet Kincaid's show now.
Yeah, the Chet Kincaid where he played the gym teacher. Where Room 222 was billed as a comedy, but it wasn't really that funny. Mm-hmm. The Bill Cosby show quietly wasn't that funny.
That's right.
It was
Yeah.
like it was like
It wasn't a dramedy, but it was just dry.
right.
It was that dry. He was trying to do dry humor.
Look, it was almost the male version of Julia. Where Julia kind of had some funny moments.
Yeah.
And I think they billed Julia as a comedy.
Well, yeah, I think it is billed as a sitcom.
Julia wasn't really that funny.
Yeah.
You know, it was just nice seeing black people positive, professional, good looking, wearing nice clothes,
Yeah.
living this middle class life.
Yeah.
But it wasn't funny. So, you know.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it probably is, and I don't know, you have to go back in time, but it probably is a byproduct of it being like, unfortunately, our only bite at the apple on
Right.
television, and then trying to represent everything.
Well, again, much like Diane Carroll and Julia, I think Bill Cosby, one of the cards he could always play is that he was pleasant. Like he was a pleasant presence. And let's just put a fine point on it. He was a pleasant presence in the living rooms of white people. Like, oh, what a pleasant young Negro man. So, like, you know, it's an episode of the Bill Cosby show where he goes and gets a steak from the butcher and he has a steak dinner. And
Was that an episode?
yeah, 100%.
Is that really an episode?
Right, and you know, like it's a kid in gym who can't climb the rope. So like he got to figure out how to help the kid have the self-confidence to climb the rope. You know, he's going to go on a date. And it's all just very pleasant.
Thank God for Fat Albert.
It's like, it's all very pleasant.
Thank God for Fat Albert, Bill.
Hey, you know.
All right, that's the top five. It is now time for us to get into the game of kings.
Which isn't pleasant.
6 Degrees of D'Urville Martin.
Woods.
Hi there. 6 Degrees of D'Urville Martin, where Vincent has 6 films or less to connect an actor that I give him to that man who can play in any sketch show
Who's quite pleasant.
and very quite pleasant. D'Urville Martin.
Yes, sir.
All right, Vincent, keeping it in theme,
Okay.
we are going to be reviewing Slaughter
Slaughter!
from 1972, starring Jim Brown.
Yes, sir.
So I want you to connect D'Urville Martin to these other famous Browns.
Okay, famous Browns. All
All
right.
right?
All right.
In 6 films or less,
All right. It's a fair amount of Browns.
there's a fair amount.
Yeah. Who we got?
Connect D'Urville Martin to
2.
Millie Bobby Brown.
Millie Bobby Brown. Oh yeah, I was actually just watching her yesterday because I'm working my way through it because I never saw it. I didn't get a chance to see it in the movies, but because D'Urville Martin is in. Let's do it like this. Yeah. Because I get yeah. So D'Urville Martin is in Five on the Black Hand Side with Dick Anthony Williams. Dick Anthony Williams is in Mo Better Blues with Cinda Williams.
Okay.
Cinda Williams is in One False Move
Yes.
with Michael Beach.
Yes.
Michael Beach is in If Beale Street Could Talk
Yes.
with Brian Tyree Henry,
Yes.
who is in Kong versus Godzilla New Empire, whatever the one that was just out is called, with Millie Bobby Brown.
No, that would be Godzilla and Kong.
And Kong
New Empire.
New Empire.
Yes.
Where's my daughter? I wanted to go this summer with my daughter. I took Camille to see Godzilla -1.
I remember you
I
said
told you this, and Camille Camille thought she was just going to see sci-fi stuff with Dad. She wasn't ready for this rumination
Or grief.
on grief and found families and the horror of war. So I told Camille before she left to go back to campus, I was like, oh, we should go and see. She was like, are you taking me to see Sad Godzilla again?
Emo Godzilla.
Right. So she's in fluorescent Godzilla as opposed to Sad Godzilla.
Well,
which is what I took Camille to go see.
it's a more jolly
Right.
Godzilla.
Right.
It is a more jolly Godzilla.
Right.
I'm curious. Did you? So you said you're working your way.
Yeah. I'm like 30 minutes into it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I just can't hit start every time I want to.
Look, man, it's the Monarch verse. I like the Monarch verse. It's big stuff blowing around and throwing people, you know.
I just can't hit start.
Yeah.
I can't hit
All
start.
right. All right. Who's my next Brown?
Your next Browns
Like James Brown or
in 6 films or less connect D'Urville Martin to
two?
Brian Brown.
I don't know who that is.
Yes, you do.
Can I see his picture? Oh yeah, I'm never gonna get him. Like I know he's in stuff, but like he's not he's like grizzly white character actor.
No, he's in.
Has he starred in something?
Yes.
What is so like? What is the movie that Brian Brown best known as in
The movie that was his movie.
Yeah, his movie.
FX.
Oh my God, what is that from the 90s?
That is FX is from actually 86, which had a sequel.
Was he the star?
He was the star, and he was the star of the sequel FX2.
I don't remember FX at all.
Really?
I remember it was out because he was he was a special effects guy and he did some stuff.
Yeah.
I have no memory of that film.
If I remember, and I'm doing this
At
off the top
all.
of my head, the co-star or like his partner in that is Brian Dennehy.
Yeah, so I can't do no with that.
Okay.
So what has he done since 86?
Okay.
89.
He was in Cocktail.
He was in the worst Tom Cruise movie. Who was he in Cocktail? It doesn't matter. I have no memory of Cocktail. I have no memory of Cocktail, but let's just use Tom Cruise so we can talk about Slaughter.
He was the co-star in Cocktail.
How is he the co-star in Cocktail?
He is the co-star.
Was he the evil bartender? He was the co-star in Cocktail. How's he the co-star in Cocktail?
Yes, he is the old experienced bartender who takes Brian under his wing.
Oh, under his wing. So he's the Obi-Wan Kenobi bartender.
Yes. He's Yoda, the bartender.
Yoda. All right. Well, look. Well, D'Urville Martin is in Hell Up in Harlem with Fred Williamson, or Black Caesar, or any of the movies he was in with Fred Williamson. Fred Williamson is in Through the Hard Way with tonight's featured actor, Jim Brown. Mm-hmm. Jim Brown is in I just lost how I was going to connect to Tom Cruise. I just lost. Oh, no. Jim Brown is in Any Given Sunday. He's in Any Given Sunday with Jamie Foxx. Jamie Foxx is in Collateral with Tom Cruise, who's in Cocktail with Brian Brown as the wizened old bartender.
Very good.
When's the last time you saw Cocktail?
Never saw it.
I was about to say, have you ever seen Cocktail?
Never saw it.
There's no reason to see Cocktail at all.
No, I believe that.
Yeah.
Never seen the movie.
Yeah.
Never seen the movie. But because you like to disparage people, he was in Cocktail.
Yeah, yes.
He was in Gorillas in the Mist, which was a big film.
I don't remember Gorillas in the Mist at all.
I think that's a movie about like Jane Goodall.
Yeah, I do. I remember that. I just don't remember the movie.
with Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah, yeah.
He's the co-star in that.
Okay, sure. Well, along with some gorillas. It's not Brian Brown in the mist, is it? Did he play one of the gorillas?
No, shut up. You get away with that with Brian Brown. let that have been Jamie Foxx and you make that
Oh,
joke.
I never.
You can't make that joke then. He was in, I'm trying to see a movie that, Along Came Polly. And that, because now in the 21st century, because I know you want to say, what's he done in the 21st
Dude,
century?
I've seen him. I've seen him. Oh, it's that guy.
He was in Australia. He was in Gods of Egypt. I actually tried to sit and watch Gods of Egypt.
Why?
Because I wanted to see, like, did they really think they could get away with this movie?
Yes, they did.
I did not last 10 minutes.
Well,
dumbass.
whose fault is that?
So yes, well,
Yeah. Well, there you go.
there you go. There you go. Real quick, Farrell Blackwell asked an interesting question in the chat. Micheaux mentioned, can I ask, around this time, what was the most subversively revolutionary or unpleasant black TV show? And is he meaning like around 1972?
I don't know, but
I don't know that there was anything subversively revolutionary.
I don't know what year it was, but I think the Richard Pryor show, they damn near was going to take that off.
That's the 80s.
Is that the
That's
80s?
early 80s.
Yeah, so that's...
When the damn near, they took it off.
Yeah, no, but like immediately.
Right.
Yeah, so I always go to the Richard Pryor show.
I don't know how subversive it was, but for a short time, in the wake of, oh God, what's the movie that put Lorenz Tate on the map?
Oh, you're talking about the movie you're thinking about is, of course, Minister Society, and the television show you're thinking about is South Central.
South Central.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know like how subversive South Central was, but South Central was a show that was too good for television.
Yeah, look, yeah.
And it didn't last.
Yeah.
It didn't last. But I don't like subversive, revolutionary. Around that time, I don't know. Television doesn't get revolutionary for black folks until Roots, really. And to my eye.
Yeah, absolutely. Not
Because Roots, everybody watched.
right. Like overtly subversive. Like I think the ones that we're talking about are subversive just because there were people in America that couldn't believe black people were acting like this and not like what's been told them. I mean, hell, Uhura is subversive.
Yeah, how about that?
So, but
True. All right. That is what we have for you, ladies and gentlemen. It is now time for us to get into our review of
Slaughter!
Hurts. Let's go. Slaughter, a former Green Beret, avenges the killing of loved ones by the mob, and in so doing is coerced by the feds into traveling to Micheaux to finish off surviving mobsters. Slaughter stars Jim Brown, Stella Stevens, Rip Torn, Cameron Mitchell, Don Gordon, Marlene Clark, and Robert Phillips in a movie directed by Jack Starrett and written by Mark Hanna and Don Williams. It came out in the year of 1972, and it hit because it was bad. Vincent, what do you got to say about Slaughter?
This is it. This is it. This is a perfect example of why people fell in love with these films, with these blaxploitation films. As you said, this stars Jim Brown as a hero Green Beret, whose father apparently was loosely affiliated with organized crime, and because the implication or the theory is he knows something that he's not supposed to know, the mob assassinates him and Slaughter's mother.
Yes.
This happens. Is it before or after the like? If it happens after the credits,
Immediately after the credits.
So immediately after the credits, there is an explosion.
Yes.
And then Slaughter is introduced, and this film is off to the races. At an hour and 30 minutes, including the extensive opening credits, which, as we've joked about all evening, has Billy Preston burning on the organ and yelling Slaughter.
And scintillating opening credits.
Oh.
I enjoyed the opening credits.
How about that?
Yeah, it's funky.
This is it's pure momentum. Like the film just goes and goes. Slaughter gets press gang. You know, he is a straight line towards trying to get revenge for his parents' death. In the midst of trying to get revenge, he's press ganged into working for the Treasury Department. He ends up in Mexico. And again, the sheer momentum of the thing is one that is energetic. It's vibrant. This is very much in the grindhouse tradition because it's lurid and kind of seedy.
A little bit, yeah.
Jack Stard, who is the director who we've talked about once before, he directed Cleopatra Jones. I think the action is well shot for the most part. He has this stylistic choice that he makes it oftentimes when someone is murdered. There's this elongated fisheye lens to that kind of stretch, which for me kind of lended itself to this overall kind of sleaziness that the film had. Blaxploitation film, you're not really going in looking for great acting.
That's very true.
Having said that, there were a fair number of performances in this film that I liked. We were talking about Stella Stevens before it started. Stella Stevens plays a mob mole who basically is set up to find information from Slaughter, but then of course ends up falling in love with Slaughter.
Of course, as one does.
I know nothing about Stella Stevens. The only thing I really know about Stella Stevens is that she played the love interest in Jerry Lewis's version of The Nutty Professor, which is about 10 years before this film.
Yes.
So she's, 10 years younger. I thought she had a little bit of personality. I definitely thought there was chemistry between her and Jim Brown. It's Jim Brown. But she gets a little bit of a backstory.
A little bit.
And I thought as the sort of obligatory white woman that the blaxploitation hero has to have sex with, she did more than I thought was necessary with the part.
She does have sex, though.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, absolutely. Harry Bastoli, who I know nothing about, plays Don Gordon, who is a Treasury. I'm sorry.
No, it's
Don Gordon plays Harry Bastoli, right? And Harry is another agent who is down there with Slaughter, and they form this partnership.
Yes.
That I found myself in the couple of minutes between the explosions and the sex scenes, and the two of them were just kind of talking. I kind of liked them together. Like I liked the chemistry between them as partners. And something I'll say in a moment, I almost got the sense that Jack Stard thought this might be a series.
Well,
like they were setting up the status quo, and I there's a moment where Harry's on his own looking for clues, and in a film with again explosions, sex, Jim Brown, it trusts Harry to have these couple of minutes by himself, kind of sneaking around and doing stuff, and I liked it. was like, okay, I like it. Marlene Clark plays basically their handler. Not in it a lot. Not in it, frankly, enough for me.
Not barely when
But
she's even there.
Again, I got the sense they were maybe trying to set something up. I have to say that there is, you know, as a film in the grindhouse tradition, as a film in the blaxploitation tradition, there is some gratuitous nudity.
Yes.
And she has a gratuitous moment where she is naked.
And it is 100% gratuitous.
Having said that, I thought it was really interesting. They don't have sex. She's not even a love interest. Like, you get the sense that there's some energy maybe, but it's not explored. She is an agent of the Treasury who ostensibly is in charge. So I kind of like that. Rip Torn, a young Rip Torn.
Very young. Well, not very young, but yes.
Plays the main mobster. He's not the head of this outfit, but he's the one kind of, and he is gloriously sleazy.
Yes.
He looks wonderful. He's just sort of oily.
Yeah.
And you know, everyone is wearing these 70s clothes, and his just sort of hang on him, which just as a visual contrast to Jim Brown, who, much like we talked about with The Hit, Jim Brown must have had a tailor.
Yeah.
Because his clothes
Everything.
are just immaculately fitting. So in contrast to him, I loved Rip Torn's character of Dominic. And he was, I mean, you know, I love Rip Torn anyway, but I always think of Rip Torn, frankly, as an older man.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
so seeing him young and kind of sleazy.
Yeah. Like, I was watching the movie. I was like, Rip Torn is in this. And I kept waiting for the older guy to show up.
Right.
And then Dominic did a smile. I was like, oh, that's Rip Torn.
And he's got the voice.
Yeah, yeah.
And then, you know, obviously the star of the show is Jim Brown. And this is a vehicle that you see why Jim Brown is Jim Brown. He is forceful. He is magnetic. He is just this presence that from the very beginning, as I said, the film starts, parents explode. Cuts to Jim Brown in the hospital, but you can feel his presence just standing there talking to the doctor. I love the fact that the doctor comes out and says there was nothing else we could do. It was like, what are you talking about? The car exploded.
Yeah,
what were you in there looking at exactly?
I didn't make much sense of that. It's like, what are we doing here?
But Jim Brown's character, Slaughter, is single-minded and sort of linear. As I said, I like him and Stella Stevens together. I liked him in Harry together. I love him and Dominic going back and forth. He kind of moves through this thing, as I said, whether he's wearing like just basically a 70s version of a polo shirt, oftentimes unbuttoned, because it is Jim Brown, and some slacks, or he's wearing a beautiful tuxedo, or he's wearing an action black jacket, because at one point Jim Brown is fighting with an airplane.
Yes, Jim Brown is fighting with an airplane.
Look, Jim Brown is utter black manhood at this moment. So much so that you know, you and I have talked on and off, or at least I have, about how I was confused about how Jim Brown kind of went from, you know, sort of that Dirty Dozen Jim Brown, where it looked like he was going to be an actor on a broader landscape, to being consigned to blaxploitation movies. And I'd never really, but apparently he had gotten blackballed. And, you know, the sort of press release story is that he had a bad attitude and he was volatile and he wasn't necessarily he was not dependable. You read in a lot of reports, but then it's also his politics. Like Jim Brown was quite radical at this time, and Slaughter was viewed as his comeback. Like, it was like 1969, he's in 2 movies, 1970, he's in 2 movies, and then he's in nothing in 1971. So that this was his sort of, but you completely understand how Jim Brown is Jim Brown. And then again, this is a blaxploitation movie. Like I said, a lot of it is shot in Mexico. So there's like that kind of, in these beautiful terracotta houses, or, there's a chase scene at the end through a small Mexican village. So, you get that kind of feel for it. This is a personal thing. I love casino scenes in the 70s. Like, I love scenes of people in those 70s tuxedos and the ruffle shirts and the big ties. And you have 2 of them in this movie. We have 2. So I look, is there some issues with it? Like I said, there are some gratuitous nudity scenes. But again, I think if you are going to watch a blaxploitation film, that's what you're going to get. I think as far as to give it, curse it with faint praise, as far as gratuitous nude scenes go, I've seen much more egregious examples. There's a moment in the end where Stella Stevens' character is beat pretty viciously.
Very.
But again, she's beat by a villain. Like, he's the villain. And I've seen worse. Having said that, if I've seen worse isn't enough to defend it, I completely understand it. Like, I know some people who don't do blaxploitation at all because of the misogyny that kind of runs through a lot of these texts. And I very much acknowledge that. Having said that, again, many of the performances were better than I thought they should have been. I liked the choices that Jack Sterrett made a lot of times. There were some scenes that I couldn't see. Things were a little muddy, but I don't know if that was the film or just the print. I just watched the old print. But I enjoyed the hell out of this thing.
But that's good to hear. That's good to hear. I can't say that I enjoyed the hell out of it. I didn't not like it, but I just didn't 100% enjoy it. I will address a couple of things that you said. I tried to take my 21st century, lens out and just watch this for what it was. But in watching the movie, trying to watch it from a 1972 point of view, with the backstory of Jim Brown in 1972, where he is in his career and where he is as a man, I still bumped up against some of the gratuitous nudity that you talk about in this film, and some of the gender politics that's going on in this movie. Like you talk about Marlene Clark, who has a nude scene in this film, and she's barely in the movie, right? But you're introduced to her in the film as someone who she pretends to be a reporter, right? And that she wants to get this story on this explosion of this guy, and so she's approaching the son, and the next thing you know, and he doesn't want anything to do with her, doesn't want to give her a story because, like you said, Slaughter is single-minded. I want to find out what happened to my parents. Slaughter goes home and tries to ruminate on how can I find out what happened to my parents. The reporter, Marlene Clark's character, has broken into his apartment, ostensibly to maybe still try and get the story. But you see that she's broken into his apartment and has taken her clothes off.
Yes, which
because she is prepared now to give herself to him. You have been given no impression. You talk about the chemistry between them. There has been no establishment of any chemistry.
Oh, not
them.
between him and.
Okay, but
Yeah,
but
between
you
him
said
and
that. But you said there was some type of energy.
Yeah, later after.
Okay,
this.
but you've been given no impression of this energy at this time when she wants to now give herself to him. So he summarily kicks her out of his apartment naked. Thus the gratuitous nudity of her. Because he's single-minded about what happened to his parents. And yet in his single-mindedness, it still finds time to, give in to the advances of Stella Stevens and develop a relationship with her. And I think that Jim Brown, and I'm talking about 1972 Jim Brown, to be doing that in this movie, kicking the black woman out of the apartment, who you then find out is actually on the side of the Treasury Department and is going to be part of his contact and part of the good guys for the rest of the film. For him to kick her out of the apartment, out of his apartment, yet to find his way to develop a relationship with this other person who more or less does the same thing as throwing herself at him in the midst of him being single-minded about finding, what happened to his parents. I felt a little icky about that. Yes, is there chemistry between the two of them? Yes. Stella Stevens has said in interviews that she enjoyed those scenes with Jim Brown. Conversely, she says she did not enjoy acting with Rip Torn. So, who was a huge drunk, and part of that probably played a part in that. But despite that chemistry, I just didn't like the politics of that as it appeared on screen, especially knowing the Jim Brown in his mind, the radical, the activist, the pro-black everything that Jim Brown was at that time. I recognize that his career may have been a little bit on a low, but he still was the top man on the call sheet, and I think he could have played that. That could have been played a little better. So I did bump up against that. I'm sorry. And the scene where Stella Stevens is beat up by Dominic, I understand that it is the bad guy beating her up, but that is really over the top. Mm-hmm. They did not have to, because she's beat up, but a lot of times when you see violence against women, even back in the 70s, you might see a hit and then a bunch of stuff happens off camera and you're hearing it. This movie, there's a lot.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Because she gets slapped and kicked. She gets punched. She gets thrown on the floor. She gets kicked. She is sexually assaulted. He attempts to sexually assault her as well. And all of that is happening full blown on camera. That is a lot, especially considering that is one of the, and possibly the most violent moment in this film, so that really rubbed me the wrong way. I just didn't like that. I didn't like that. Don Gordon was actually a very noted character actor of this time. So it was actually a pleasure to see him. I always enjoy seeing him. I had seen him in Papillon. He was the old Steve McQueen movie. I think he's actually in Bullet too, another Steve McQueen
Steve
movie.
McQueen, I think, is his best friend.
Right.
Like they were boys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was always a pleasure to see Don Gordon, and like you, I like seeing him get like a little bit of his own little backstory, his own little byplay, and the back and forth with him and Jim Brown. That was fun to see, Rip Torn plays a great villain, so he's doing his job. Actually, the biggest problem of this movie, besides the underusage of Marlene Clark, is one, Jack Starrett as the director. That fisheye thing that he does, it's interesting. It just comes out of the blue in the way that you're like, whoa, what happened to the film stock?
That's why I loved it.
So I like it. But you know it. But then there were moments where it was used. Like, did you really need it for that moment? Like, you know, a dude falls off a wall and but he falls like 2 feet. I'm like, I don't know if it's really adding to the story as much to the storytelling as he thought. And Jack Starrett, you talked about how he directed Cleopatra Jones. Mm-hmm. But do you know what Jack Starrett's actual truest biggest claim to fame is?
So it's not Cleopatra Jones.
No.
What is it?
His actual truest biggest claim to fame is as an actor.
Okay. Yeah, I saw it was an actor.
He plays the drunk on top of the building in Blazing Saddles that lets you know, hey, the sheriff is on. That's Jack Starrett's most famous role.
I'm still going to put the Cleopatra Jones thing on top of my wiki of him.
Okay. Well,
yeah.
But it's not, that's your wiki.
Yes.
That's Vince wiki.
Yeah.
Well, not on Wikipedia.
Yes.
So I had a problem with him. My other problem with this movie, unfortunately, is Jim Brown.
Oh, you're insane.
But it's not because
you're an insane person.
It's not because Jim Brown is necessarily bad in the film. I'm not saying he's bad.
Okay.
Because Jim Brown, you're right. It's the presence. It's the physicality.
So if he's not bad in the film, what is he bad in?
Because the reason why, I mean, this is decidedly a blaxploitation film, but you could argue that it's a little bit unlike other blaxploitation films. One, because it is filmed on location in Mexico. It has beautiful sets. Mm-hmm. There's a bit of a quote unquote James Bondish vibe to it.
Sure, the casino scenes.
With the casino scenes and everything like that. That actually just plays like maybe C-level James Bond. So it's which puts it a cut above blaxploitation a little bit, because it's not so much about the man and everything like that. But because of that setting, I think he is asked to, and because of the biplay he's supposed to, the chemistry he's supposed to have with Harry, Don Gordon's character. Mm-hmm. He's supposed to kind of like come off as a bit of a, if not a ladies' man, but developing. You're supposed to be seeing the development of this relationship with the Stella Stevens character, as well as being Mr. Badass because he's Slaughter.
Right. Green Beret captain.
Right. But I think that Jim Brown is very one speed in this movie, and there's not a lot of layers to the Jim Brown. You get away with that early Jim Brown acting. I don't know if you necessarily get away with that in 1972. I'm hoping for a little bit more.
I think that's the character, though.
Yeah, but
like I think that's 100. Look. Even this whole bit with Stella Stevens, and I understand. I absolutely get what you're saying. Although I saw it a different way, with him not having sex with Marlene Clark, even after he learns who she is. When he has sex with Stella Stevens, the very first thing he says to her is, "They sent you, huh?" So he's using her, trying to get information. Like in my mind, there is like there's that bit where they're walking together and she says, "Oh, well, they sold me to the mob 8 years ago," and
gives her
and he says, "Oh, you know, there's no more slavery anymore." But like that's the only moment where I got the sense that it's like, oh, he is kind of developing a bit of fondness for her. But look, they blew up my parents. Mm-hmm. I murdered a dude and blew up a plane. Mm-hmm. They told me I messed up the operation, and now they tell me if I don't if I don't help them finish the operation, they're gonna put me in jail. And he still is like beating up because I didn't even know what he was doing, beating up police officers and stuff. And then the dude says, "I'll give you the person who killed your parents." And then he says, "All right, I'm in." I think that's the character. Like, this is like I think he even with Harry, and I will tell you, like, I agree with you that I really did think they were set. Like, I was so disappointed when I looked at the plot synopsis for Slaughter's big ripoff,
Right, the sequel.
which is the sequel to this. That none of them returned.
Yeah, that's straight PlayStation.
Because I really did think they were setting up not quite James Bond, but like kind of how they wanted to do with Remo Williams, but this is the first one.
Yeah.
Like if this was the
The
third
template is there.
if this
The
was
template's being
if this
set,
was the
yes.
third Slaughter film, I would agree with you. But in this one, until he kills Rip Torn at the end, I don't see, like, everything else is just sort of around him. Like I don't.
Yeah, see, but that's the thing. Everything is around
But that's
him.
the character.
Yeah, but I honestly believe, and maybe I'm wrong, but I honestly believe that they actually want the character to come off as a little bit more debonair than that. I think they want the character to come off as a little bit more, wise and slicker than that. And I don't
But
think
there
he pulls
is
it
nothing
off.
in the script that says that. Even when Harry says, "How are you going to get into the casino?" and he says, "Oh, don't you worry about me and he gets, like, his whole plan to get into the casino is to point a gun in a dude's face.
Yes, that's true.
Like, there's never a moment where he's clever.
to get into the casino, but I think they're trying to play him as maybe like a little bit more smarter than his steez when he is in the casino playing blackjack. I think that is one of those scenes where they're actually trying to show him a little bit.
I don't get that, because even when he when he wins blackjack, when dude says, "Oh, it seems like you're doing so well," and he's like, "Yeah, I'm lucky," and the dude says, "Oh, well, meet me this," he leaves all the money there. He is a bullet. He is on a straight line. And I actually kind of like that he and Marlene Clark didn't have sex. Like, I like the fact that she wasn't another notch on his belt.
No, I'm fine with him not having sex with her. I just don't like the dismissiveness of earlier, because it actually serves no purpose and no purpose.
Well,
in setting up a character. To be frank, they don't do anything.
They don't
with
do
anyway.
anything with, and I didn't.
But it devalues her.
I mean, it does at that moment, but again, every other blaxploitation movie that is made between 1970 and 1970 whatever, he would have had sex with her. Like, she would have just been another notch.
Yeah.
And I think that is worth clinging on to. Like everything, like even last week, Robert Hooks makes this big deal about Paula Kelly is his lady and I'm going to protect my lady, but he has sex with other women, and the last scene of the film is with a whole nother one. Like, everyone, Superfly, Shaft, this one, that one. Like, oftentimes they'll have a girlfriend that they have sex with, but then it's like 2 or 3 other, random women, including a white woman. Got to have a white woman. Mm-hmm. So I actually would have liked it less if they did have sex. Like, because what could have happened is they could have had sex, and then he could have said, "Now get your narrow ass out of here."
No, I agree with that, but I think that scene serves no purpose, especially considering that they do absolutely nothing.
You're absolutely right.
With the character, the rest of
Would it have served more of a purpose if they did have sex?
No, I don't. I wouldn't have liked that either. I don't like the idea that she went there she is there in her mind to have sex.
Well, and even that, we know she was naked. She's a spy. You don't know what she was going to do.
Vincent.
Here's the thing, though. Vincent. We can say we don't know.
Oh, Vincent.
Because look, I'm just saying, Also, Jim Brown, this is the second movie we've watched where Jim Brown has gotten into a fight with a car.
Well, it takes a car. Sometimes you...
Which is what I'm getting to. Like, I love the fact that it's just not realistic that another man can fight Jim Brown.
No, it has to be a car.
It has to be a car.
It's a car or an airplane.
Or an airplane. Or 4 dudes.
Well,
At one time.
and the 4 dudes didn't do any better. They did worse
Then
than
he
the...
punched that one dude so hard.
Oh, my God.
I actually said, oof. Then he picked up the one dude and threw him off the roof. And I said, wow, he picked that dude up real easy.
I know. And then threw him into the smoke.
Threw him into the... Look, man, look.
Like I said, I'm not saying I didn't like the film. I just...
If you are going to go into a blaxploitation mode, you got to take it as blaxploitation. And this is kind of stuff you're going to see. You're going to see gratuitous titties.
I understand that.
That's what you get.
No going in.
And that's exactly what it is. You sit there and you go, ooh, titties.
Like I said, the gratuitous nudity of Stella Stevens.
And
Stella Stevens was a starlet. It's what she did.
Right. And one thing I will meet you with, I thought that when he beat, and I think it's worth saying for people who haven't seen it, Jim Brown didn't beat her up.
No, it's Rip Torn.
Rip Torn beat her up.
You said
Yeah.
it was the villain.
It was a lot.
It's a lot.
And there's part of me that wonders that with these white screenwriters and white directors and white producers, if the subtext of that is she's being punished
for
having sex with this black man.
Yes.
And not just having sex with him, but developing feelings for him. So I do agree. There's some real nasty energy.
Well, the subtext, you're talking about subtext, but the context as far as the movie is there because Rip Torn character, he's saying that.
Right. You know? But, I think it's easy for the creators to say, well, he's the villain. Villains do villainous stuff. But it is that was a lot. But look, again, I think... I don't know if that scene's as bad as the violence towards, I think about Pam Grier getting slapped around in Coffee.
This is worse. This is way worse, Vincent.
I think there's bad and there's gratuitous. Is gratuitous worse than bad?
Well, what do you mean by bad?
I think this is bad. Like this is just sort of like the
bad isn't
the intensity of it, the level of it, how long it was going on, but it is in service to plot. Like we said, the villain does it. This has been building the whole movie. This is part of the plot, as opposed to there has been violence.
So it's bad and gratuitous.
I wouldn't call it gratuitous because it's part of the plot, as opposed to the violence that you see oftentimes in these films where it's like a pimp slapping around somebody or just random dude who starts beating up the main character. Like you and I have talked about it. One of the things that is a spoof moment in Black Dynamite, but it speaks to something real, like that whole thing about Pete in them hot ass hangers.
Okay.
Burning women. Yeah. Like that kind of stuff. In my mind, whenever I watch these films, I'm like, Crenshaw Pete in them hot ass hangers. Like in my mind, that's gratuitous. Like that has nothing to do with the plot. The filmmakers just wanted to have this moment of violence towards women that has nothing to do with anything. With this, she, has fallen in love with Slaughter. Dominic has been jealous the whole time. It's been bubbling and building. This is towards the end. Okay, wow, that scene was a lot, but you kind of knew there was going to be that there.
You knew it was going to be there, and while I get what you're saying, how it's in service of the plot, I don't think it's in service of the plot so much as if it rings true for the characters, because like you said, the jealousy has been bubbling up there. As far as the plot goes, it does nothing for the plot because it's not like he beats her up and then lets Jim Brown know that he beats her up.
Right.
It's not like Jim Brown finds her.
Sure. I see what you're saying.
Because Don Gordon's the one that finds her.
Right. Well, they find her, but then he tells Don Gordon, I think she's going, to my point, he says, I think she's going to be all right. Take care of her. And then, again, he's a bullet.
Right. So there's that. And but it is in service to the character because that character, Dominic, the bad guy, he's been having these thoughts.
And he's kind of unraveling at this point.
It's gratuitous, though, as well, because of how much of it is there and present on the screen.
Okay.
And how much and how much, all right, what's bubbling up. You don't need to see it to this extent. You got the idea.
I agree. I agree with so it's gratuitous. It's gratuitous. But yes, I agree with
I think it's bad because it doesn't serve the plot.
Is that possibly a deal breaker for people? I think absolutely.
No, it is. It is because if we are going to call out certain things that happen in older films that we talk about, and sometimes those being a bridge too far for us, certain things happening, like you recognize that it is of this time, yet, you know what? I still can't give you a pass for whatever reason. There are going to be some things that happen even in these heralded blaxploitation films that for one reason or another, you just can't get the pass for.
Look, it's on a scale of Mickey Rooney in Breakfast
at
Tiffany's to the Soul Brother in Superman, who says, "Woo, Jack, I love them threads." I think this is very subjective. So for me, I don't do Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Me neither.
Because of Mickey Rooney. I wince at the Soul Brother in Superman, but to me, that's not enough to poison the well to keep me from watching this film. I think, and we've talked about this, I think this is 100% the blaxploitation thing. I think in a modern context, the thing that shuts these films off for people is the violence towards women, the gratuitous way that women's bodies and sexuality are treated. And certainly there are some blaxploitation films that I don't do anymore. But I do think on a scale of something like Dolomite, which I think is surprisingly even-handed and kind of good-natured with women, to, I can't even think of a good example. I will say this. I've been scared to rewatch The Mac for 10 years. I'm okay with like you said, but it's not enough to disqualify this for me.
Would you recommend Slaughter?
I would. I would. I absolutely would. I think Slaughter is with the disclaimer that I don't think things like Shaft or Cotton Comes to Harlem or Uptown Saturday Night or blaxploitation films. Like, I think there are black films that were made during this time, and then there are blaxploitation films. I think this is very much in the top 10 of blaxploitation films. And quite honestly, I'm just sort of hedging my bets because off the top of my head, I can think of maybe 2 or 3 that I think are better than this as blaxploitation films. So yeah, I would absolutely recommend this. And you?
Wow. I'm going to recommend this movie. Okay. I'm going to recommend it for 2 reasons and 2 reasons only. One, I think that Jim Brown is important enough of a figure in Black history in regards to sports, in regards to film, in regards to activism, that for the most part, most of his work should be considered and should be seen to draw a full context of the man. And this is maybe one of his better, in this time period, pieces. So, I'm going to say you should watch it for that. It's got some caveats to it. I'm not saying it's the greatest film in the world. There's some stuff you're going to wince on, but I'll say that. The other reason I'm going to recommend this, and feel free to stop the film as soon as this happens, folks. The opening credits, which are badass, not just because of Billy Preston's singing "Slaughter," but even just the opening, the titling, the opening credit like sequences. It's really, really cool. It set me up to like, oh, I think we might be in for something special here.
For a split second, I thought it was Saul Bass.
I did too.
I thought it was Saul Bass for a split second.
I did too, because it is that funky, that energetic, that it is on point. It is in rhythm with the music. It's actually, it was interesting watching this right after Trouble Man, because as heralded as the Trouble Man soundtrack is, that opening sequence, which is where you hear the theme, the song, it doesn't necessarily marry well with what's on the screen.
No.
But this, it's all right there. Yeah, this is why I think they were thinking to set this up as kind of like a pseudo James Bondish movie, because it's right there in the opening title sequence. So for those 2 reasons, I would recommend Slaughter.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So there you go. All right.
All
right, ladies and gentlemen, before we tell you what we're going to be watching next week as we move into September here on The Mission, I invite you to share your thoughts on Slaughter and anything else that you want to talk to us about. Email us at micheauxmission@gmail.com. That's MICHEAUXMISSION@gmail.com. You can also feel free to hit us up on the social media of your choice, whether it be X, Instagram, or Facebook, at Micheaux Mission. You can also find us on YouTube, where we are streaming live every week at Tuesday at 7 p.m. Look up at Micheaux Mission. Hit that subscribe bell so you are notified of when we put up our new videos that are going up. We're notified of when we go live every week right here from Young Chunk, Philadelphia's premier video podcast palace. They have many studios in Young Chunk. We have the Micheaux Mission set, which I have been told will be undergoing over the next few weeks a bit of a redo and a redesign. So I'm looking forward.
Is it going to be like the new Micheaux Mission, and then we're going to be in a diner?
Maybe. Stay tuned and see what happens. If you want to book your podcast here in one of the studios of Young Junk, or hey, even if you're not here in Philadelphia and you like the production that is being done here, and say, oh, but could they do it on a remote basis? I found out that they can. You can email Dylan at youngjunk.com. That's DYLAN at youngjunk.com. Hit him up. Let him know what kind of project you want to work on, and Dylan will see what he can do to make it happen. The Micheaux Mission is also a proud member of The Podglomerate, thepodglomerate.com, and their network of podcasts. They make podcasts work, such as ours, which will be returning first to the Bryn Mawr Film Institute on Wednesday, October 23rd, as the Be Real Micheaux screening series closes out 2024 with Attack the block. Sci-fi, horror, John Boyega. Woo, baby.
Good stuff.
Good stuff. And Vincent and I, as well as our good friend Stephanie Watts, will be there to give a live podcast right after the screening. And we've got free pretzels. Ask Sharon Eldridge in the chat. She knows all about them free pretzels. They be tasty. All right. Next week, here on the Micheaux Mission, we will be moving into the month of September, which means it is time to go doc to school as we focus on documentaries all month long. And next week, we have a doozy.
We do.
From 2005, I believe. It is a documentary about dancing in South Los Angeles. And it's called Rise. R-I-Z-E. Next week here on the Micheaux Mission with very special guest, professional geek, longtime Micheaux Mission fan, and a bit of a dancer herself.
That's right.
Ariel Johnson will be joining us live in studio.
Yeah.
That'll be a big fun. Can't wait. It's been a long time since we had Ariel playing, having fun with us. So we look forward to that next week here on the Micheaux Mission. Until then, he's Vincent, I'm Len, and in parting, we say,
We'll see you when it's time to meet again.
Let me get one last slaughter.
Slaughter!